Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing really well today and I hope you're really enjoying BNF Healthy Eating at Home. I'm Alex from the British Nutrition Foundation. Today I'm going to be doing a cook along for corn and vegetable curry using mushrooms and onions. So to start, I've got myself all ready to cook by putting on my lovely Food Effective Life apron and washing my hands really well. So the first step of this recipe is just going to be to turn the hob on. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil in the pan. So I've got some olive oil here which you can use, but I'm just going to use some spray oil today. So I'll just spray a little bit of that in and leave that to start heating up. So the next step is going to just be adding in a little bit of garlic. And what I've got here is I've just got one garlic clove and I'm going to peel this. So I'm going to do that by just chopping the end off and then peeling it like so. What I like to do when I'm cooking, especially with things like garlic, is I've just got a bowl here. So rather than keep having to go to the bin, I can just throw my bits in there and add them in later. So for this, I've got myself a garlic press. If you don't have a garlic press at home, then don't worry. You can just chop up the garlic into small pieces with the knife and add them in. But as I've got my garlic press here, I'm going to use it. So I do that by just putting that in there, just squeezing down. If you're doing this with children, you're going to need to get your strongest helpers to help you out with this one, to squeeze in the garlic. What you might notice when you've got to this stage, you've just got a little bit of garlic on the end like that. So I'm just going to use a spoon just to scrape those bits in there. Perfect. I'm just going to put that out the way. So the next bit I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my onions and my mushrooms. Now to save a bit of time with this cook along, I've chopped these earlier. So I'm just going to add these in. I'm going to start with the mushrooms. And then I'm going to add in the onions like that. I've just got my wooden spoon here to push these around like that to make sure it's nicely spread out in the pan. Now one thing that's really important to remember here is if you're cooking and you've got your handle like this, then it can be really easy to walk into that and knock it off. So I'm going to keep my handle round like this. It's also important not to have it round like this, so it's over the other hobs. And that's because the handle can heat up and then when you grab it, you can burn your hand. Especially as later on we're going to be cooking some rice on these top hobs here. So I'm just going to leave that to the side, make sure that's all pushed around, and that will start heating up like that. So the next thing we're going to add in is this corn mycoprotein. So I've already measured this out, 200 grams, and I'm just going to add that in to here. Like that. Fantastic. I'm going to push those bits around just to make sure it's nice and spread out in the pan. And using mycoprotein can be a great alternative to if you're using mince of other kinds with meals. So if you're vegetarian, then it can be a really good alternative to use that. So I've just moved those back and I've got a spoon for the next bit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add in the tomato puree and the curry paste. So we'll start with the tomato puree. What I've got for these are just some measuring spoons. So as you can see here, there's one for 1 teaspoon and one here for 1 tablespoon. So we're going to use the 1 tablespoon one. So we're going to just add those in, add in the tomato puree, lovely. And what I've got is just a spare spoon which I just grabbed, just to push that in like that. Fantastic. So we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of that. I'll add that in. And I'll just push that in so the tomato puree is nice and spread out throughout. You might be able to start hearing it at the moment, and that's just because it's got hotter and started cooking. But one thing you can't do is smell it, and it's starting to smell really nice. In case you don't have any measuring spoons at home, you can just use a normal tablespoon as an alternative. I'm just going to add in 2 tablespoons of the curry paste. This is actually pre-portioned, so this is the equivalent of 2 tablespoons. So on this occasion I'm just going to add all of that in there. like that. Fantastic. And again, this little bowl here is great to just put your rubbish in. You might be able to hear that again. It's really starting to heat up, it's really starting to smell nice. I'm just pushing around the curry paste just to making sure that it's nicely spread out in the pan. It's cooking nice and evenly as well. So now that's been in there for about 5 minutes, I'm now going to add in the coconut milk and the chickpeas. So I'll start with the chickpeas. So what I've done before, just to save time again, is I've taken the lid off and I've drained the chickpeas. So just going to add these in. The recipe says 200 grams, there's 220 in here, so I'm just going to throw that all in there. People know that I love chickpeas, so certainly throw in a good amount of chickpeas into there. And then I'm going to add in the coconut milk. So one top tip that I've already done actually, because I've taken this lid off already, is it can be really good when you're using coconut milk just to shake it up first before adding it in, and that will make sure it comes out in a nice consistency. So I'm going to add all that in there and make sure that's all stirred in with the coconut milk. So when you put in the coconut milk, it quietens down a little bit, but it's certainly going to keep cooking, and it's really starting to smell nice. It's very liquidy at the moment, but as it begins to cook, the coconut milk's just going to get a bit thicker, and the recipe's going to, or the curry's going to come out really, really nicely at the end. So we're actually just going to leave that for a bit now. We've put all the curry together, and it's going to take about 20 minutes. But what I'm going to do is check back in on 5 minutes. This is a great opportunity to tidy up what you've done so far. But remember to keep checking on it. I'm going to go and tidy up. Right, so I've had a bit of a tidy up, and now I'm just keeping an eye on this curry as I go forward. What I need to do is cook something for the side. So what I've done is got some rice in a bowl, and I've just put this water on to boil, and now it's starting to boil. I'm just going to add in a little bit of brown rice in there, which is going to be a really nice side dish to my curry. Now there's lots of different things you could have with this. You could have it with a side salad and maybe some naan bread, with a rice and a side salad, but I've just got some brown rice and put that in. So I'm going to let that cook whilst I'm keeping an eye on this. I'll keep stirring it and we'll check back in on it in 5 minutes. So it's been about 10 minutes now, and as you can see, the sauce is starting to get a little bit thicker. It's starting to smell really nice, and I think it's going to taste absolutely great. You can probably hear the rice boiling away in the background. So when that's boiled and when this is cooked and we're happy with this, then it's time to serve. So it's been about 15 minutes now, and it's starting to look really nice, and the texture's really nice, and it's really starting to smell fantastic. The rice is still on to boil, and the coconut milk really is giving it a really nice texture. One of the alternatives to coconut milk, if you don't like the flavour of coconut, or if you can't get hold of any coconut milk, is to use 400 millilitres of water and some vegetable stock, and that can be a great alternative. So as you can see, it's starting to get a bit thicker, and I'm just going to leave this here for another 5 minutes, wait for the rice to boil, and then it's nearly ready to serve. So that's been about 20 minutes, and it's really looking fantastic. So I think it's all ready to serve now. So I've put the rice on the plate. I'm just going to serve a little bit of the corn and vegetable curry next to it. There we go, fantastic. So thank you ever so much for listening in to today's cook-along. I really encourage you to join in the other cook-alongs that will be happening throughout the week. And do get involved as much as you can with healthy eating we get home. Thank you ever so much, everyone, and I hope your curry looks as lovely as mine does, and I hope it tastes great. Thank you very much.